I was 5 steps away from the front door when I heard the familiar voice of my mother laced with disdain echoing through the living room. "Can you believe this lunatic? Years of studying Vermin, and for what? To disgrace the family?" My heart sank. It was just like old times, but this time her words ignited a fire inside me. Years had passed since I was kicked out of the family. Years spent in the shadows, studying the unseen world beneath our feet. The city sanitation department had fired me, no longer able to ignore the peculiar infestations I had been trying to expose, anomalies in the population of Vermin that resonated with a horror no one dared to acknowledge. I had been ridiculed then, a fool chasing ghosts. But ghosts could be terrifying. The truth could be terrifying. Now, here I was, back at the very doorstep of ridicule, yet armed with knowledge that could shatter their disbelief. I opened the door, and their laughter ceased, replaced by a tense silence. My family stood frozen, their expressions morphing from mockery to uneasy recognition. I had changed. It was undeniable. The years had etched deep lines into my face, and my eyes gleamed with secrets that twisted the ordinary into something grotesque. I bore the weight of what I had learned, the burden of having survived encounters that would have shattered the minds of lesser beings. "What do you want?" my father snapped, his voice a blend of irritation and curiosity. "I came to share what I've discovered," I replied, trembling with anxiety and an odd thrill. "The Vermin, they're more than you think." So I pressed on, recounting the strange patterns I had tracked, how cities were overtaken by swarms of vermin that seemed to align with human disasters, how the numbers of rats fluctuated in ways that spoke to a dark intelligence lurking in the alleys. As I spoke, I watched their faces change, shifting from disbelief to wary acknowledgement. "They count us," I said finally, the weight of my revelation heavy in the air. "And their populations are growing beyond what's natural." "You're telling us something, but no one listens," my mother scoffed. "And what's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. Instead, I reached into my bag and pulled out my field notes, filled with sketches, graphs, and observations that would have sent seasoned biologists running for the hills. My family's ridicule had only steeled my resolve. As I presented my findings, the unease in the room thickened like a fog, smothering their laughter and the comfort of ignorance. But it was what happened next that shattered the carefully constructed moats they had built against my revelations. The lights flickered, a foreboding shudder coursing through the walls as the shadows began to thicken. I didn't need to look outside. I could feel it in the air. The vermin were gathering, just as they had always done when I returned to the place that had once been my home. "Maybe you should call an exterminator," my brother joked feebly, but his voice quivered slightly, revealing a chink in his bravado. "No," I said softly, my heart racing. "You need to see this." It was then that a scratching sound resonated from the corners of the room, a skittering of tin.